was the night before Christmas, and all through Philly, St. Nick delivered more gifts down the chimney, and we're still winning. Oh, boy, what a game. What an incredible game that was yesterday at the link. Of course, the Eagles win in dramatic fashion on a last-second 35-yard field goal by Jake Elliott after Foles, got him down the field there to get the winning field goal attempt, and it was good, as Merle Reese would say. Eagles win 32-30 in just a incredible game. High drama there in the fourth quarter. The Eagles are up, 13 points, and the Texans make a comeback and get the lead by a point, and not a lot of time left. And but I'm sitting there going, you know what? We got St. Nick. We're okay. We still have a shot. And sure enough, gets him down the field, and Jake, who misses extra points, but he made the biggest kick that mattered in that game, of course, in the 35-yard field goal, and the Eagles go on to win. Again, like I said, the final score 32-30. Just a I mean, what can you say? These last few weeks, listen, it could have gone either way. When you talk about going up against the Rams in L.A. and the Texans, obviously here, two good teams. The Eagles kind of, being up and down on the season, and everything that kind of transpired there, as bad as we all felt after that Dallas loss, the last 2 weeks have been great. Seeing the team, play, with a lot of fight and emotion, and look, I mean, Nick is the. I mean, we know what he's capable of doing. If last season taught us anything, winning a Super Bowl MVP and winning in the playoffs and getting there and outdueling Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl, and I mean, you don't do that without believing in yourself and believing in your ability, and that's what Nick's done. I think we're very fortunate last few seasons to have him as a backup to Carson. And look, it's for another video down the road to talk about who the starter should be here going forward. There's schools of thoughts either way, Wentz or Foles. I still believe Carson is the guy going forward, but I certainly I mean you can't ignore the fact of what this team has done with Nick Foles under center. And it's not just these past two seasons. Some years ago, the 27-2 touchdown interception season, the fact that he left the field in the playoff game against the Saints at home with the lead, and the special teams and the defense kind of gave it up there after that. But hey, again, that's for another video down the road. Like I said, I think we're very fortunate that he's the backup, that it wasn't, Sudfeld, because all due respect to Sudfeld, I don't know if we're winning the Super Bowl last year if he comes in after Carson gets hurt, and I don't know if we beat the Rams and the Texans this year after, Carson goes down with the back. So, we're very fortunate to have a backup quarterback like Nick Foles on the team, who came in and has done what he did the last two seasons. And I know he started the season this year, the first two games, was very kind of up and down in those two games, but did start those two games. And then, Carson returned, and we saw, how the season kind of went, and, Carson goes down with the back, Nick comes back in, and lo and behold, it's the holiday season, and St. Nick delivers two gifts the last 2 weeks, and plays brilliantly against the Rams in L.A. and outdoes himself. Yesterday, setting a franchise record for passing yards in a single game, almost 500 passing yards. I mean, he looked like Brady out there yesterday. but even the Patriots were thanking him. So it's the season of giving, and Saint Nick is the giver. He just it's remarkable. I think his story would make an incredible 30 for 30. I mean, Tony Romo getting the football life. Nick Foles' football life would be much better than that, I'll tell you that. But it just you can't make this stuff up. I mean, there'll probably be a movie made at some point for what's been going on here. It is absolutely remarkable, the turnaround here in the last 2 weeks. And I don't want to sound, anti-Carson. I certainly don't, because I'm a fan of his. I believe he has a place here as the franchise quarterback going forward. We'll see. I mean, look, a lot still has to kind of transpire here the next few weeks. There's obviously going to be a lot of, possible drama on the horizon if the Eagles do make the playoffs and Carson's healthy. What do you do there? We'll get into that more, should they, do what we all hope they do this coming weekend and beat the Redskins in Washington. And hopefully the Bears give us a nice little, after Christmas gift and beat the Vikings. Because that's what has to happen for the Eagles to make the playoffs. We all know this by now. But obviously everything's set up this weekend. All the NFL did a good thing. I like what they did by putting all the meaningful games as the 4:00 games. So whereas the Rams Niners play, the Vikings Bears play, the Eagles Redskins play, all play at that 4:25 time slot. So all those games will be going on at the same time. So there's no game that already would have happened. Whereas, if the Eagles would have played, or let's say the Rams play, or whatever the case may be, one of those teams would have known what happened, and, they're sitting guys or whatever. So obviously the NFL wants those kind of, competitive matchups there. And so they start all those games at the same time, including the Eagles game, which I believe the Eagles, Redskins, and Vikings, Bears games were the ones that were pushed back because the Rams are on the West Coast. So the Rams-Niners game was already at 4:25. So, and just push all of them back so they're all playing at the same time. And look, and the reason for that also is because the Bears, again, this is what I said last week. I said, hopefully Eagles take care of business against Houston, which they did. And I said, then we all have to be Bears fans. Because we needed the Bears to win that game against the Niners to still have a shot at the 2 seed. Now, the Rams did win their game in convincing fashion versus the Cardinals, and that's not too surprising. But we needed the Bears to win their game for next week to matter for them, and that's what they did. So it does matter for them. Now, I was sitting here in the man cave, yesterday with Big Slim, and, shout out again to him. We had a get time this weekend, and boy, talk about hearts in the throats moments there as the game was going on. But, he was saying, well, we need the Seahawks to lose too, and that's very true. But I said, there's more of an opportunity with the Bears because, the Seahawks, losing 3 straight, they're playing the Cardinals next week. I didn't really see that as the big opportunity. I saw more of the Bears as the opportunity to beat the Vikings. Not to say that anything couldn't have happened. Obviously, Seattle was playing a tough team yesterday against Kansas City. They ended up winning that game at home. So they're out of the picture now. They got the 5th seed, and that's fine. I think they have a shot to beat Dallas in the wild card. So I'm okay with them getting in as the 5th seed to knock off Dallas as a 4th seed. Oh boy, I would love that. Oh boy, that would just. But no, obviously Dallas wins their game yesterday. They win the division title. I hope it's the only title they win this season. I hope that, if they play Seattle in that first game at home, Seattle knocks them out, with Russell Wilson and that defense and the running game that they have, and they're just the type of team that could do it. So, we'll see. But obviously, the most important thing for yesterday was the Eagles winning their game against the Texans to have a shot next week, and that's what they did. Obviously, you compound that with the Bears winning their game, regardless if the Rams won or not, they still have a shot at the 2 seed because they have the tiebreaker because they won the head-to-head game against the Rams some weeks ago on, Sunday Night Football in Chicago. So they're still set up for a number 2 seed in a first-round bye. And as we know, that's important. So I would imagine they're going to be, going full tilt there versus the Vikings. I believe the Bears are a better team than the Vikings. I know the game is in Minnesota, but I believe the Bears could win that game and help us out. And of course, the Eagles got to do their own job, right? Do your job, right? They got to go to Washington and beat the Redskins. It is a divisional opponent on the road. I know the Redskins are out of it. I mean, they got Josh Johnson at quarterback. I mean, it's set up for an Eagles win. But let's not forget, look, these last 2 weeks were against very, more difficult opponents. The Rams and the Texans. Let's not have that letdown. Let's not have that letdown. The Eagles got to walk into this game against Washington the same they did against the Rams, the same they did against the Texans. I know at times this season they have looked very, they have looked very, unpredictable. You never know what Eagles team was going to, show up week to week, inconsistent. But the one thing I will say over the past few years, they've taken care of business against the teams they should have taken care of business against. So the Redskins, listen, the Redskins are going to come into this game knowing that they can knock the Eagles out. It's a divisional game. It's at their home, which I don't think is a great home field advantage, but still, it's there. They know that they can end the Eagles season by winning that game. Their job this week is to be the Scrooge, right? It's to play role as a spoiler. So I'm not looking past the Redskins. I'm not. And I do believe the Eagles are going to win this game. Nick Foles was announced a starter, no surprise there. I believe he's going to have another solid game. Is he going to put up the numbers he did this week? Probably not. Passing yards wise, well, maybe he does. But I believe the Eagles, should win. They should take care of business. The Redskins, look, they got Adrian Peterson. You got to stop their run game. Josh Johnson, he's no Jared Goff. He's no Deshaun Watson, but you don't want to overlook him. You don't want to go into this game just too overconfident. And I don't believe this team will, but you certainly don't want to do that. Not for nothing, he was looking okay there for a while against the Titans until the very end of the fourth quarter where he threw the 2 picks. The second one, that's an end of the game Hail Mary type situation. He got picked off, returned the other way for a touchdown by Butler. But he was looking all right there for a while in that game, and that was on the road against a good defense. So, I'm not overlooking the Redskins. I'm not overlooking Josh. Look, I've seen too often the Eagles, go into games in FedEx Field and lose, or lose to the Redskins or lose, to a team that they have no business losing to, in a key moment type key situation. I remember years ago, and the game got pushed back. A couple days because of weather. It never should have gotten pushed back. But, we all remember that game years ago after the Miracle in the Meadowlands, number 3 or number 4, what you want to say for the Miracle in the Meadowlands games. But after D-Jax returned that punt for touchdown, the following week, all the Eagles had to do was beat a hapless Vikings team with, Joe Webb or whatever the quarterback was there, who was really like a receiver, was playing quarterback. And the game got pushed back because of weather for a couple days. They played the game, I think it was like a Tuesday night. And Adrian Peterson was a part of that game as a Viking, and the Eagles lost that game. And because of that, they didn't get a first round bye, and they ended up having to play the Drew Brees and the Saints in the wild card game at home. Now they. That wasn't the Drew Brees year. That was the Green Bay year. They played Aaron Rodgers. Another tough opponent. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in the wild card game, and of course, as we remember how that game ended, Mike Vick throwing the interception in the end zone on a pass intended for Riley Cooper. That's a bad name for the pass, but ball intended for Riley Cooper, and goes the other way, and then the Packers, of course, that was one of their springboard games to go win the Super Bowl that year as a lower seed. They came here and they beat us, and the reason we had to play them is because the Eagles didn't take care of business the week prior against the hapless, Vikings team that they should have beaten. And again, I will say, if they would have played them when they should have played them that Sunday, I believe they would have won the game. But yeah, it is what it is. It's hindsight, but it's just an example of how. And it was a different situation because the Eagles were already locked into the playoffs, but they still had a chance to get that first round bye and be like the 2 seed that year. And instead, they lose the game to the Vikings at home. And then they had to play Aaron Rodgers, the boogeyman, and the Packers in that wild card game. I mean, it was still a winnable game, but the Eagles ended up losing that game. And who knows what it could have been if they had the bye. Who knows how things may have gone a little different. I mean, you never know. So I'm not overlooking the Redskins. I'm not looking any opponent right now because it's the end of the season, and these games are crucial. Your opponent knows that it's crucial, and on top of it, it's a division rival that you already beat earlier in the season. I mean, they know the stakes too. It's in their home. I know their home field isn't like the greatest home field advantage. There'll be a lot of Eagles fans there. And by the way, kudos and shout out to the Eagles fans who were at the link yesterday afternoon, making noise, being loud. That energy, that emotion, that passion. And you know what? That's what, I know this season hasn't gone the way we all had hoped it would go. And there's been a lot of disappointing games and disappointing losses. But that's what made that game against the Rams so big. For winning that game, meaning that this game mattered. The last home game of the season mattered. So the fans, are treated, get in there for a meaningful football game in late December. And it's always better to have that than the alternative, as we all know. So it was great to have that yesterday, because it could have been the other, if they didn't do what they did against the Rams the week prior, I mean, this would have been, pretty much the farewell to the season type game. And even though they were still mathematically still alive, it would have been a lot tougher had they not won that Rams game. So kudos to them for winning it. Kudos for St. Nick for coming in and doing what he did against the Rams and then following up with that performance yesterday. And a big shout out, I don't have a lid here because it's a Santa hat, but tip the hat to Zach Ertz beating a Cowboys record, Jason Witten's record for most receptions in a single season by a tight end. Zach Ertz now has that record, and I think it's funny. He gets the record, he fumbles the ball, and the guy named Dallas picks it up. So Big Slim and I were getting a good laugh of that. On the play where Zach Ertz gets the record away from a Cowboy, he fumbles the ball, and a guy named Dallas picks it up. Adding insult to injury there. But listen, Witten congratulated him on Twitter and everything, and, that's a class move. And like we all say, records are meant to be broken, but I'm just glad it's an Eagle now instead of a Cowboy. That does my heart good. I know Dallas won the division yesterday, but we took a record away from one of their players, so that's always a good thing. But no, congrats to Zach Ertz for that. He was certainly involved in this game yesterday. I know against the Rams, he wasn't as involved in the offense. I mean, Nick was, more, getting the ball to Alshon. And, look, Alshon had a great game against the Rams. And he had a nice game yesterday, too. Nelson Aguilar had a nice game yesterday, too, with a big touchdown. I mean, St. Nick, he delivered a gift down the chimney there against Houston. And for those Houston fans that don't know anything about Nick Foles, well, you do now. Listen, again, just a great performance yesterday, and it was a great game. And I will say this, I will tip the hat to Sean Watson. Great, the Texan fans out there, you guys and gals out there are lucky to have him. He's a great quarterback. I liked him when he was at Clemson. I rooted for him and that team in the national championship game those years ago when they beat Alabama. Hey, if you can beat Alabama in a national championship game, you're doing pretty good. And he had a really good game in that one. He threw the game-winning touchdown at the end. A great national championship game that was those years ago. And I kind of followed him, his career at Clemson and now in the pros. He got hurt last year, as we all know. He was having a great rookie season before he got hurt. And now he's back fully healthy, doing a lot of things. He made a lot of plays yesterday. He's just one of those guys that's scary to go up against because he's a mobile quarterback. He keeps plays alive. And he made some plays, man. That 3rd and 11 when 4 Eagles couldn't quite tackle him and he throws the ball for a first down. That's the type of play that he makes. He's a dynamic young quarterback, and like I said to the fans of Houston, you're going to enjoy watching him for many years. I am a Deshaun Watson fan. I wasn't so much a fan of him yesterday. But, I do like him. I liked him at Clemson, so, I can't lie about that. But I was not rooting for him yesterday. Hey, you play my Eagles. I'm rooting for my Eagles, so... but yeah, again, it was a great game. I know that it wasn't perfect. I mean, Vitae was basically a turnstile there against Jadeveon Clowney. The officiating was horrendous. I mean, the 2-point conversion attempt when Clowney pulls Foles down by his face mask and the ref's looking at it. And you're not that I agree with all the calls made to aid quarterbacks. But you're talking about a league right now where the emphasis is on protecting players and protecting a quarterback. And you're going to have these calls, that some of them are just like, what are you supposed to do, if you're a defensive player? But you talk about a play where a guy's being pulled down by his face mask to the ground. And the referee's looking at it and they're going, that's all right. I mean, it's not just... It's not just for the Eagles here or against the Eagles. I see it in games all the time. This season has been one of the worst seasons that I can remember for referees. It has been awful. I mean, awful across the board. Every game that I have seen, there has been just ridiculous calls made or missed. And I really hope that the NFL gets a hold of this. And I don't know if this is something that you can change overnight. I have no idea. But it is bad. And it's bad across the board. And you know what? It takes away from the game. It really does. And the NFL, the powers that be, they have got to get this thing under control. Because you have a lot of referees that are just, what in the world? What are we doing? A lot of them have this God complex that they're just going to take over a game or not make obvious calls and throw penalties against what the hell? A few weeks ago. And again, I don't want to keep coming back to the Eagles-Dallas game. I really don't. But a few weeks ago, you can't figure out what a fumble is. And then even if you don't, then New York doesn't know how to, and the Dallas Goedert offensive pass. Just stuff like that. Stuff like that is just maddening. It's maddening. And again, I know it's for every team, and other fan bases complain about the refs, and rightfully so. But you see plays, and I've seen plays that the Eagles have gotten called on, and it's like, okay, well, I don't know about that one, but but yesterday again, Clowney's grabbing him by the face mask, pulling him down to the ground, and you're not calling it. And when Watson basically gets touched on the pad, there's a flag getting thrown for it. I just, again, there's a lack of consistency, and there's a lack of calling the obvious and throwing flags for things that have no business having flags thrown thrown for. So it's just been across the board bad. But you know what? Any more of this season, it's like you just have to kind of understand that it's going to happen. And I really hope, and I really pray, and I know the NFL is hoping that this doesn't happen, that these games this week don't come down to a bad call. Because that would be absolute horrible. The Eagles win their game, and the Bears are, doing something close, tight game against the Vikings, and then a call goes, and the Eagles miss out on the playoffs because of a call. That would not go well. But again, look, the Eagles put themselves in this situation. They were winnable games. Tennessee, Carolina, they could have won those games and not been in this situation. But I just think that would be awful if somehow it comes down to a call where Chicago loses the game based on a stupid referee call. I hope it doesn't happen, or even the Eagles, dare I say, lose the game on a bad call against Washington. I really hope that doesn't happen. I hope that these games don't get, into the hands of the officials. But it is something I'm a little concerned about. And just by judging how all these games have gone in the officiating this season, it is something I'm a little concerned about. That all being said, and I know as always I say a lot, but I am very happy, that this game means something. Because just a few weeks ago, it just looked, losing to Dallas is is a bitter pill to swallow, getting swept by them this season. But the fact of the matter is the Eagles still put themselves in position where this last game, Week 17, this week matters. A chance to make the playoffs, a chance to beat Washington. Hopefully Chicago beats Minnesota, we get in. You can say, well, you backdoored your way in, but hey, I don't care. I just want to get in. I want a ticket to the dance. Particularly the fact that they'll be a defending Super Bowl champion. I would love to still have a chance for this team to get back to the playoffs and have more playoff football. But you know what? Again, they can very well win their game and Chicago loses to Minnesota, and then there's that for that. And there's nothing we can do about it. As a fan base, we all hope, we all root and we all hope, but it's out of our hands. The Eagles have to take care of their business, and hopefully Chicago can give us a big gift and beat the Vikings. And I know people were saying, well, Chicago, do they want to play the Eagles? The Eagles are a hot team. If they win and the Rams win, then they're going to have to host the Eagles. And teams, look, you're in the heat of battle. You're not thinking of that. You're playing the game. If they're in a close game with Minnesota, they might not even know what's going on with the Rams game. More than likely they will, but you never know. They're just in the heat of the battle against Minnesota. It's a divisional rival for them. If they're in a close game, it's not like they're just going to want to lay down, and say, all right, well, the Vikings can take this, we'll just play them again next week, but I don't think that would be the case. They want to kick the Vikings out. It's a divisional rival. They have a chance to beat them and end Minnesota's season in Minnesota. And still a chance, the Rams are playing the Niners, so they have a, not as, it's a, I know the Niners are playing a little better of late, but it's not like they're playing a great team, at the end of the season. But, anything can happen. The Niners can be up for this game and give the Rams a run. So the fact is the Bears, by virtue of them winning this game against the Niners in San Francisco yesterday, still have a chance to get the 2 seed. And, of course, they need the Rams to lose to the team that the Bears just beat and the Niners to do so. But, there's a chance at that. And, as long as there's still a shot, they're going to play hard. And, again, if they're in a close game, I can't see them just laying down, and just giving the game to Minnesota so they play them again the following week. I don't see that happening, But, again, it's the big story after this game was the play of Nick Foles and, getting the franchise record for passing yards in a single game. Awesome performance. Awesome performance by him. Awesome performance by, the receivers. Alshon made, that third and long play where Nick got drilled. Late in the fourth quarter by Clowney, he had to sit out for a play. I didn't think he was going to get back up. He was down. But, it's just one of those just one of those stories, like Rocky getting up off the mat. He comes getting up, goes out for a play, runs back in to a standing ovation, and leads them down the field for the game-winning field goal. Just an incredible. Again, you can't script this stuff. You can't. But on the play where he did get drilled by Clowney, well, but what a catch by Alshon. That was a big-time catch. And I know Alshon hasn't had the greatest of years. Injury has been there, and, maybe, Carson just not looking his way enough or what have you. But you know what? That was a money catch by a money receiver right there. And they needed it. They got it. And, of course, some plays later, Foles is back, throws a nice pass to Ertz, who almost trips. There was a lot of Eagles tripping on the field too. So Big Slim and I are sitting here yesterday going, "What the heck's up with this field?" Dallas Goedert tripped on what could have been a touchdown. Ertz trips. It's just, I don't know, or maybe it's just something about the tight ends tripping yesterday. I don't know. But listen, it's a festive time of year with the holidays, and in this town, it's even more festive when the Eagles are winning. And we all know what they did last season and what a great run that was. And it's a different kind of season this year, but right now it feels the same. Just how this team is winning games, finding ways to win. You have Foles back in there, reminding us about the playoffs last year, and it's been incredible. And, as a fan, this is all I can hope for this time of year, just a shot. We're not guaranteed in, didn't punch a ticket or anything like that like we had a year ago already. But it makes these games fun. It makes them, hearts in the throat, everything like that. But we have a shot at this thing. The fact they won the last 2 games still gives them a shot, and that's all I can ask for as a fan. It is what it is, what happened earlier in the season. We can't go back and change things, But the fact that they still have a shot, we're going into Week 17, a meaningful game in Washington, to try to make the playoffs. That's all I can ask for as a fan, besides already getting our ticket punched right now. But if it isn't, I still would rather play games that we have a shot to make the playoffs in than not, So I'm real thankful for that. And, I mean, boy, the legend of St. Nick, it just keeps growing and growing. It is amazing. I mean, that story is amazing. And I think it's just so appropriate that's on a Philadelphia team where we love the underdogs and we're all about that type of story fits this city more so than anyone else. I think it just fits it better. And it's just been a story that keeps getting more and more chapters put into it. And it's amazing. It's an amazing thing. And, all due credit to Carson, of course, but Nick, I mean, he just keeps doing it. So look, great win for the Eagles yesterday. Another great win, 32-30. Just a back and forth fourth quarter, just ups and downs, and just the gamut of emotion. I wish I would have recorded yesterday. I thought about it, and I just didn't. I was here with my buddy Big Slim. We were watching this game, and we're just acting like fans, back and forth, and just all those emotions, all those moments, and then the winning on the field goal. And it would have been nice to get some help with Tampa and Detroit, but what can you do? The Bears won their game. That was important, and we'll see what happens. They're all playing at 4:25. All these games are going to be bunched together. We're all going to be watching the Eagles fans and being on our phones, seeing what the other scores are doing. I'm sure they're going to be updating all the, left and right, and break into the games with the, the updates and whatnot and highlights and stuff. So it's going to be a really fun day for football. And the Eagles still have a shot. And that's all I could ask for. Like I said, it's exciting. It's going to be a nerve-wracking and an exciting day of football on Sunday. But, of course, before that, it's Christmas. And for those of you out there who celebrate Christmas, I want to, extend warm Christmas wishes. Merry Christmas to all of you. Happy holidays. As I said before, it is the holiday season. We're in full swing of it right now. Christmas, of course, is tomorrow. We have New Year's coming up. And, boy, in between the two, we have a pretty monster Sunday for football. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of nerves. But, Eagles Nation, we can't ask for much more. We have a shot. We got to win, and we all got to, we have to have an Eagles hat on, and we have to have, like a Bears item or something, or go out to a store or order something online, like a Bears item, and just have it by the TV. or something like that. Then you got to put it away if the Eagles play the Bears, in the playoffs. And we got to hide the Bears stuff. But next week, anyhow, Eagles Nation, again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. St. Nick delivered again. And we're hoping he can do it again on Sunday, get us another big win, and hopefully Chicago can he get some of that? Trey Burton's there. Okay, you think Nick can just extend some of that magic over to the Bears? Maybe text his buddy Trey Burton and say, hey, you want to help us out a little here, Trey? Get some of that St. Nick magic over to the Bears. So I will say this, and for the first time in series history, I will say this. I have to say go to another team here as well as the Eagles, but let's go Bears on Sunday. All right, go Bears. Bears. Hey, go Bears on Sunday. And of course, go Birds on Sunday. 2 Bs. It's a big day for the Bs. The Bears and the Birds. Okay, both have to come away with W's. The 2 Bs have to have 2 W's. Okay, for us to punch our ticket and get in as a 6 seed. So, exciting, and like I said, big Sunday coming up. Let's all enjoy it. It's going to be very nerve-wracking, but hey, we still have a shot, and that's all we can ask for at this point. Let's keep the train rolling. All right, everyone, take care. Go Birds! Go Bears! And I will see you all after the game on Sunday, which hopefully we will all be still in very much celebratory mode. All right, everyone, take care. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and let's keep this going.